Have you ever had the thought that you were born to change the world? Or maybe you wish that you could, or when you were a child, you thought, I know that I'm so important that I'm going to change the world. Or you might have these other thoughts that I am so insignificant that I could never do anything in my life that could possibly change the world. Or you might be examining the world now and you're waiting for someone else to change it so it could be better. And so you're going to come to understand that you are the one who was born to change the world. We all were. But we only do that when we decide to become our authentic selves. And that is the journey that you take through your life, which is your evolutionary path. And it's going to be different for you than anyone else. And that's what makes it challenging. See, because when you come into the world, you have to become this unique person, and you're looking at everyone else around you and you're comparing yourself to them and you're thinking, I can't be them. Or then you might fall into this place where you start believing in the imposter syndrome. When you start having these ideas about what you're supposed to do, and you think, no, that couldn't possibly be me. And then you have to stop and ask yourself, what would make you any less than any other person on the planet? What would make you feel that you weren't as important as any other person? And I will tell you that it's because you just haven't discovered who you are. And that's going to be your journey. And when you discover who you are and decide to live that, you will not only heal the world, but you'll heal yourself. Because see, we all come into the world a little broken, as I say. We have things we must move through. You will be very hard pressed to find any person ever who will tell you that they've moved through their life and have never experienced any difficulty. That's not possible. Because, see, what happens is we each have something we're meant to do. We have an evolutionary path we're supposed to follow. And doing that, we're going to screw up a lot of things. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have terrible relationships sometimes. We'll take bad jobs. We'll go broke. We'll do all sorts of other things. But everything that you have done now gave you something to understand. Now you have more wisdom. Now you have more knowledge. Now you're discovering your authentic path in your life. But then what also happens is that we will move through times in our world that it seems like everything is falling apart and we couldn't possibly be that important. And that's exactly the opposite. You see, because when things are falling apart as they are or how they might appear to you, that's the best time for you to become your best self because you're being asked to become more. And I know you felt it because there have been things going on in your life over the last several years where you think, I want it to be different. I want my life to be different. I want the world to be different. And it's right in front of you because all you have to do is take that next step in who you're meant to become. But that can be challenging. This is why we take courses. This is why we go to mentors. This is why we're sitting online all the time watching videos and trying to get some information. Who am I? When you answer that question, then you have the life you're supposed to have, and then you start healing, and then you start creating the world that you want. That's what we all do. We do it collectively. But when we move through evolutionary times as we are now, it's going to be a little challenging. See, because what happens is you move through your individual ascension journey, as I call it, or self actualization, but the world is doing the same thing, you see. And so when we're collectively not letting go of what was old, meaning we're unwilling to change, then we have difficulties. We have wars, we have sadness, and we have depression. That's all that it is. When you're feeling that state of depression, that means that you have just been cut off from another aspect of yourself. Because I know everyone was born these perfect beings. We all are. But we have to move through our lives to discover that. And then sometimes it will be surprising what you discover about yourself. That's why you never give up. And I'm saying that because I'm 73 years old and I didn't give up. And what turned out is that I was given now this philosophy that could have anyone live this really great life. And I know that if more people did it, it would heal the world. That's what happens. And it was challenging for me to accept that and to be able to say those words. And even when I received this message that I'm about to read to you, it came through on September the 6th of 2020. But it came through, Wilhelm, as I've always done, But to give it to you during that time, I said, people aren't going to understand this. People aren't going to believe it. Because, see, consciousness exists all the time. I was just able to access it at other times that could tell us what was happening in our world now that would help us all live much better lives. And eventually, more of us would heal and we would create a very different world. That's not something that everyone is going to believe because we won't want to necessarily look at ourselves. And that's the problem. We have this built-in fear of who we are or who we could become. And it could be trauma. We're all moving through trauma and we're moving through generational trauma now. And that's a global thing. That's why you're seeing all the events that are occurring in the world. But you have the ability to change that when you decide that you're going to love yourself. That's all that ever happens. You have this one life, and why not live it to the best of your ability and become happy? And what happens when you do that is you move through and you heal. I'm going to read you the message because it's going to really make sense to you now if you had even read it when it was first out, but it didn't make a lot of sense to me then either because we evolve in our consciousness over time where we can accept certain things. If you change, you will heal the world. If that statement sounds too grandiose to you, you have uncovered the source of the difficulties you have experienced in your life. You are witnessing the results of your actions playing out in your world, and specifically the United States. We told you your world was undergoing a massive restructuring, and the only manner in which that may manifest is through you. Each of you has felt insignificant in your lives in some way or at some time. You each can recognize specific characteristics or qualities you have that feel to you to be problems, challenges, or insecurities. Those very things are the ones you have attempted to eradicate for quite a while. And you knew this time in your earthly experience would be the most suitable time for you to heal those wounds, for that is what they are. But you also fear and resist change. And that is the conflict that is currently on grand display in the United States. But we assure you, this condition also holds the healing you seek, and it begins with you. We told Roger to do his job, as we have said to each of you. We also said the surprising thing about that is your job is the thing most natural to you that you have ignored. It means honoring every aspect of you. Roger could not honor his job, which was just to be loved because that seemed like a feminine characteristic which is needed in the world now precisely and the United States. Now, if he can own this for himself, he will experience his healing, as will the world. We wanted that entire paragraph to feel like the most grandiose and verbose statement we might make because your only challenge in life has been not believing it. But now you will. Be patient. And see, 4 years ago, I couldn't own that statement because it did feel too grandiose and verbose. It felt all of that, except now I know that it's true. When I started receiving Wilhelm, I wasn't going to do it public and all of that, as many of you might know. But then when I started doing live channeling in 2021, more information started coming through, and then I could see so much more. And then I knew that if I were to do private channelings, maybe more would happen, and that's what happened. But see, that was what I was afraid of. Like that message said, the thing that's most natural to you, we resist it and we don't do it. And that's why our lives feel like we're always in bondage, so to speak, doing something that we don't really love. So I'm changing all of that because I want to be an example for everyone else. And I must change it now because I know where our world is going. And I know that energetically, when we change, we make a greater difference and we move through these challenging times a lot easier. But the benefit is that you heal. Now, what that message said, I have moved through all the work that I have given. I just want you all to understand this, why I am making these changes, because I need to write a book. I need to document all of this because I want to give it to so many more people. Because the things that this work has done for me has been astonishing. The healing, the physical healing, the mental, spiritual, all of that stuff. And so what came out of my life is a philosophy that brings together Personal development, self-actualization, and ascension, meaning that you're understanding your unique soul journey while you're on this earth. And when you do that, you start doing the things that give you joy, that cause you to heal, and things that you won't believe. And I know it's challenging because I didn't believe it either. It was challenging all these years for me to even notice the physical healing I had experienced because I had things that no one could understand. And I just did it the other day as well because I healed cluster headaches. I put out a video about that a few years ago, but I know most people would look at that and think that's not possible because you will look online and search things and they will tell you there's no cure for those. And these are the most painful things that I suffered through for decades. But I know there's a cure, and I know there's a cure for everything because all of those physical things will leave once you start connecting to your real, authentic self and take that journey. Not everyone's going to do that, but it is possible. And so my duty as living my life is to make sure that I'm leaving a legacy of understanding and potential in term for humankind. And that's what this work is. But I wanted to give you this today because we will move through more changes, but you are the person who's going to change the world. And you will do that when you decide to heal, and you will do that when you decide to change. Change is the most difficult thing that we all move through. And that's why I couldn't do it for so long because we don't want to be judged. We worry about what others are going to think of us. And I know that every single person has value and worth. Now, that's been my greatest challenge as well, because it pains me to see people continue to struggle because they're struggling for the wrong reasons. They're struggling because they're not taking the steps into discovering their authentic selves and coming to love that. That is an energetic contribution that you not only make to yourself, but to the world. And that's what we need. I'm saying this because when I received all of this information, I knew we would be moving through a big generational change. And I can even tell you why the United States was mentioned so often, because it's energetically focused there, but it's everywhere. It's across the globe. But when we decide that we're going to become who we're meant to be, that's how we heal everything and heal the world. You can do this. And I want you to know that your life is so valuable. That's why you are alive. And that's why that message said, if you had trouble believing that you were the person that could do this, then that's showing you the difficulties that you've experienced in your life. Because there's no one person who has all the answers, who can do everything, but collectively we can do anything. And that's what this is. Thank you for being here and listening. Please subscribe to the channel, share it with others, and check out my work, check out my program. You can always come in. The only thing that will change later, as I've mentioned, is that the rates will change. My show on Beyond Belief will be out on the 11th. I will have a link for you to be able to watch it. So, because that's a story that's going to thousands and thousands of people, because it's time for all of us to own our lives. You are so important in this world right now. And so I'm making these steps my own life so that I can give this to more. Thanks for being here. See you soon.